have merely been jailed. He might have been shot earlier days. Nonetheless, in 1993, while the speech was remarkable, the underlying idea that the U.S. government was bankrupt and in the process of reorganization seemed unremarkable or even false. Everyone who bothered to study, quote unquote, patriot issues back then already knew the U.S. government was bankrupt, but most assumed that government would simply continue to function forever in that condition. It wasn't until 1997 that I at least began to suspect that Traficant was right sometime after 1993. The U.S. government had gone through reorganization and astonishingly made cease to exist. I based this suspicion primarily on 1997 publication of the 7th edition of Black's Law Dictionary, which deleted the 3 definitions of the United States declared by the U.S. Supreme Court in the Hooven, Hooven, and Allison versus Evall case. That has appeared in Black's Law, 4th edition, 5th edition, 6th editions. Added a completely new definition of the United States of America, which had not been defined in the 4th, 5th, 6th, and which was completely different from the Hooven and Allison definition. I can't prove it, but I believe that the reason the quote-unquote United States, really meaning the United States Inc. company, was missing from the 7th and then 8th edition of Black's Law Dictionary is because the quote-unquote United States had, in fact, already ceased to exist. The impossible had taken place. The U.S. government had been executed in bankruptcy, exactly as Congressman Traficant had predicted or implied 4 years earlier in his speech to Congress. There are other reasons to suspect that the U.S. government may have ceased to exist, such as, 1, about the same time Black's Law Dictionary deleted the term United States, the apparent U.S. Gov co-issued a new and improved currency that had completely new design. That alleged purpose was to thwart counterfeiting, stop counterfeiting, make it harder to counterfeit the bills. However, I know that at the bottom, counterfeiting is a copyright violation. I speculated that the real reason for the issuing of a new design paper dollar in the 1990s may not have been for the thwarting or stopping counterfeiting, but rather to create a new bill and a new copyright owned by whatever new entity replaced the former, now executed, now defunct, now dead United States government. If the quote-unquote old United States had owned the copyright to the FRNs, that's the Federal Reserve Notes, the fiat, what you call money today, and had been executed in bankruptcy, the quote-unquote new United States would need a new copyright, which would require a new and improved design. Second point, federal court cases that had previously been styled, quote, United States versus Smith, end quote, were suddenly styled United States of America versus Smith. We seemingly had a new and improved plaintiff with a different aim. All these changes are slight modifications to give the impression that it's still the same old, the same as you'll have people push the fact of, oh, it's okay to say U.S. or USA or U.S. but it's not the same as saying the United States. Capitalization matters. If you're reading this and it states the United States with United lowercase and states lowercase, that implies something different than capital United capital States. You understand? And that's something that they've used to deceptively trick low educated people who are educated as opposed to being irritated. Islam, go ahead.
And here's me, and I'm the guy like I said, my thing is, my study history, especially like when I used to be just reading in jail, and I can honestly say that I'm not gonna say
Every hood and every block, get on now. Rolling through the hood, just stop out, say what's up, and let you know your baby boy ain't doing so tough.
I agree or disagree, but you know, when I read, when I jack off on the record, the one saying that once again, it's just like that, and that's the end of it. But I will say, I understand the argument so much to where one person I ain't gonna play with is a white man or a white woman. I'm just not gonna play with you. Like, to no degree if they're ever gonna be played. Either it's like you said, Islam, either it's peace, or I know you're on some bullshit. And when I mean peace, I mean equality and the rest of it. Like, but that ain't the way it is. Let's keep it corporate. I mean, okay, you my boss, but just understand, you know, I don't play. Like, I'm just not. And that's on one level. I'm telling them today, that's just because I'm a Marine about it. That's literally because, you know, I'm like, there's something I'm doing about this. And that's why I say I hear everything and I get it. And at the end of the day, my thing is to the people that, you know, I want to protect maybe one day, but I don't want, you hear me? I'm the kind of dude that's tell my girlfriend, don't tell them nothing now that I'm here. Like, you know, now that I'm on deck. Because I like, see, this is what they don't believe. Everybody really believe that we so down that we really won't set it off when that's what they're telling us that we're not the dominant party. We're not organized, but we definitely the favorites. We ain't the motherfucking, how are we with the 600,000 year history, the underdogs? We just ain't. That's some shit they made up. We are not the underdogs. Not in this war. Not in what's going on. If you really do your homework on the globe, what you're going to realize is we are not the underdog, no matter what your taxes say, no matter what your bank account say. We is not the underdogs. We the favorites by a whole lot, and the only way you're going to be losing if you betting with them and not betting on yourself. That's true. I'm telling you.
Now, here's the thing we have to do, too, as well, Lord Playboy. We also have to be able, on a real tip, when brothers such as yourself speak to brothers such as myself and opportunities like this, we got to be respectful of one another. Yeah. We have to be respectful that we come from different walks of lives. We came through different schools, so to speak, of life, or different schools of mystery. And the reason why it's called mystery is because until you understand where it is that you come from, until you understand that, right? It's the same thing as trying to explain flight to someone who's never seen a plane.
Right.
It's a magic trick. It's a myth until it's actually done. So what I'm trying to do now is show us, you know, virtually, you know, AA221, I'm letting you know that came from Charles Mosley Bay, CM Bay, author of the Zodiac Constitution, author of great
Hey, listen, hey, brother, here's Bay.
Yes.
I tell you like this, you know, I wouldn't know, my knowledge wouldn't be nowhere near where it is today without reading the Clock of Destiny, without reading that Circle 7, you know, right, so I don't, you know, so conscious signs for conscious minds, I'm like, okay, brother is Bay, I don't need it, I don't need to know no more. I mean, at the end of the day, I see it, and like you said, at the end of the day, if we brothers, then ain't nothing to talk about, and that's something that we got to know. And like you said, I know I'm not confused about, like I said, I'm not confused about who my family is.
Well, now here's the thing, though. Because, you know, you gave such a favorable reply now, you know, the point that I was trying to make is that we got to be able, while respecting one another, we have to be able to respect one another, not just off the bat because someone says they're with this clique or that clique. We got to be able to dive into the so-called cliques and see the good and the bad, especially the bad. Because if you ain't come to reckoning within oneself of certain things that have happened, specifically with Elijah Muhammad at the time, then while some call him Elijah Muhammad, there are others who refer to him as Elijah Poole Bey.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And some folks, I'm not saying which side, get a little bit tense when that little factoid is brought up, especially if it's in front of others.
Right.
Because it's a fact. We have the documentation. We got pictures. You know, there was Elijah Poole Bey beforehand. That's the reason why when you look at the prophet literature in regards to his prophecies, he was saying that Detroit, for their great sin, it's going to have to basically turn back.
And I'm going to tell you something, Brother Isbay, and it's just for my conscious brothers. If you are not aware of the little, they be acting like it ain't no beef, but if you ain't aware of the Moorish Temple and Nation of Islam beef, you're not as conscious as you think you are. I'm talking about in prison. You know when brothers be building, they be building their science and shit, and then it be a little bit different, but they still have respect for each other. But you know that, it's nice to have, it's nice to know that it's information out there that can really bring even that to a conclusive standstill.
Oh yeah, because it's not a conspiracy theory. It's a fact. The question becomes is how the person that you're engaging with, how you present that fact. Because that could have been a real, to use a term I heard earlier, asshole about it. And been all, oh man, this, that, the third, blah, blah. But you know what? Here's the thing I also learned. Here's something that most, as well as Nation of Islam members may not know, but I'm pretty sure can agree upon. Elijah Poole Bey got an order from Prophet Noble Ali. His mandate, believe it or not, his mandate was, at the time, before the transition, to ensure that the religion of Islam did not fall in the minds of the people. In other words, he was charged with keeping the religion of Islam going here. Did he do that? We may not have liked how he did it. And he even is quoted as saying, okay, you might not like how I do it or how I get it done, but I will do it as you stated, as you told me to have done. You can look today. Does the Nation of Islam still exist? Yep. So in my book, he did his damn job. In my faith, in my mind, Nation of Islam, Hebrew Israelites, shit, even Christianity in the AME church, all that, it's like going to elementary school. I'm not going to argue with a sixth grader about my thesis that I wrote in graduate school. And that's not too much. Right. If you're able to understand the knowledge that came out of Nation of Islam, Fruit of Islam, out of Hebrew Israel, why stop there?
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Because you were open to listening to all that. You listened to the Yaqub story how many times? You listened to brothers talk about the devil this, the devil that. How about this? The devil ain't no modern day European. The devil's oneself. It's your lower self. And I know you already know what lower self and higher self concept is. The concept of duality. Right. You can't have good, if you don't know what the hell evil is, because then you won't know which one is which. You will never know how sweet something sweet is until you taste something salty. You got to have those diametric polar opposites to get the full 360 or 720. That way you can cover both directions, clockwise and counterclockwise in one shot. Does that make sense?
Yes. Forwards and backwards.
And listen, and this is what I want people to understand too. Like, so mind you, I thought about, like, I had a decision to make, and I could have ran on just a straight black platform, and that would have been so easy. But you know what? I went out here and came out here on the spelling platform. Because I'm on the spelling platform, I know good. I mean, because of what I chose, I'm really saying that, hey, that dude, I'm making that real life, modern, that plantation, I mean, I said I did them 16 years, and that 16 years and how it's affecting me, being, still treated 3/5 of a person, that's my whole demo. And because of that, I don't care. Like, I'm the dude that really don't care if you white, blue, black, yellow, like, because one thing about me, I was in that environment where I really will. Like, the only way you're going to make it is if you're willing to get that work with whoever, no matter what, when it come down to what you stand on. And if you don't even stand on protecting your own body, then I don't want to, if you talking about, I don't care if he slapped me in the face twice. I'm like, dog, listen, he put his hands on me and it's on and popping. They gonna be saying they like to beat me up because I'm not finna knowingly take a slap just because you feel like slapping today. No, I'm not. And I'm telling people one thing about me. I told them this with the movement. Playboy been shot 8 times. I ain't worried about getting shot. And it's just philosophically unsound if you worried about death, like what's real, like you really know what's gonna happen as soon as you die, as soon as you cross over. Cause if you thought it was gonna be that much, I'm just saying, come on now. And so I'll be out here, I don't be worried about nothing, but it took 45 years to really say, like, I mean that, but it's real. And I believe in it, each one teach one. And I believe that because it's 2022, we can get a lot done right here in these virtual rooms on these phones. I mean, we can. Because these real people, we talking to real brains. These real brains we dealing with. These ain't fake brains behind avatars. I ain't talking to no avatar.
Hold on, Playboy. How's this? You made a statement about the information that you know of what you know that you gained it from your personal journey. Never said nothing that it distinguished about a skin complexion for truth to apply. What I'm saying is, if you look up the definition of a driver in Black's Dictionary, 4th edition, for an example, it'll tell you one employed to shuttle passengers, such as a bus, a car, taxi, or a plane or train, right?
Okay.
Where in that definition does that say you need to be a certain skin color for that to apply? It doesn't, right?
Right.
A driver is one who is employed to ferry passengers. And a passenger, when you look that up, is one who paid a fare to gain access on a motor conveyance. Okay, so now you're saying, what's the problem? Policy enforcers pull you over, call you a driver, and the people occupying in your conveyance are passengers. Did the people in your conveyance pay you money to take them from point A to point B? No, so they're not a passenger then. By legal definition, they're your guest. Non-guest, to be exact. So then you look at the definition of a traveler in the same dictionary, and it says one who's trying to get from point A to point B by whatever means they wish. Which one do you want a policy enforcer calling you at the time of pulling you over on the road? Driver, show me your hands, or traveler, can you show me your hands and turn off your conveyance?
Traveler.
Exactly. Nowhere in those definitions did that say you need to be dark skinned, you need to be 2 shades darker than a brown people.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, okay.
No, I'm listening.
When they practice Moorish science, when so-called white people practice Moorish science, you know what we do? Not we on the panel, but people that are melanated and have been miseducated do. They go, oh, yeah, those modern Europeans, don't fuck with them, man. Those are sovereign citizens. They're pushing the same information that Moors are trying to show our own people about, But now we want to segregate them out because they're saying the same thing.
Right.
Do you see
Right.
the
Oh
Do you see
yeah,
the
I definitely get it. Listen,
That's trying to keep Bloods and Crips from ever tying their two color rags together and actually truly standing in force against the true enemy, which would be the system. Because it's not the system, it's not the law enforcement locally only. The system is a global planetary system that's been put into play. You don't believe me? Go check to see if there's any Masonic temples in Chinatown in San Francisco. I got pictures of it. They got a big sign in Manchuria, and in English underneath it says Chinese Masonic Lodge.
we got one for you. My thing is, and because I take the felon argument, I tell my dudes, just don't make it look racist. Now, my thing is this: I want you to understand that it's not my rule, but you know, I cannot stand idly around while a bunch of white guys beat up some black guy for no other reason than they feel like beating guys up in prison. And so my thing is on the streets. This is what I mean. They be like, he ain't Lord Playboy.
Got excited,
and
though.
I'm
They got excited.
Listen to me. You cannot just be the whole white person and then go crazy on the whole white person
I got excited.
on the black person and make me feel uncomfortable as if this was a racist.
These are some Moors talking.
This
is what I'll be talking about, the collective.
Grab the and slap his face, might
Knowing
turn
what's
you
going
into the
on.
law. I don't know what I might do.
Real game.
But that's my thing about being, just being what I mean, a Marine, being stand-up. I don't care if I got to tell the government.
You know how it is when you don't smoke.
For me,
but sometimes, you know how it is when you're drinking something, somebody started you,
I jumped in.
It gets stuck.
Superman, call me sovereign citizen, call me my own country, but just know I did something about it.
Exactly. Same with me, man. If I see somebody, I don't care a rat's ass the complexion. Strike a male, strike a mother, and in my presence.
Oh, and if I could do something, this is what I mean. Like I said, I'm not saying don't be smart, but I mean, I'm literally claiming to be the guardian of the law. I'm saying all that shit that the noble and all that shit that Honorable Elijah Muhammad talking about, I'm out here talking about, it's that very bullshit that for real, I get disrespectful about.
Don't remember what I was telling you?
I got it.
And you probably already know this about changing your status.
My white friends, listen to me. I ain't got no beef with nothing.
A lot of black people don't walk that Social Security office with the proper paperwork and came out the Social Security office white.
Extra giggle or I don't know.
Because them blocks, those are status.
I'm me. I'm not gonna dumb myself down because I don't want you to ever understand that if you're gonna hang around me and be white, you're going to be dealing with black issues too. Understand that. Not to say that you don't have white issues. So therefore, if we're going to be poor together, if you can be black with me, hey, I support your choices. They're going to be joking. I ain't going to be gay with you, but I support you in whatever you're trying to do. I ain't going to let nobody jump you. Don't you that head up work, bare minimum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear that. But at the same time, the thing that gets people
and the reason why is because it's trouble, a social construct.
Especially if they're neophyte, which just means due to the information. Is that they want to see from the chronological event what has been mislabeled as his story. They want to see one event where it's like, well, this was the day that it all went to hell in a handbasket type shit. And that doesn't exist. Life is way more complex than that. Our prophet came and told us that our complexion was olive. And if you look up olive, if you instantly got green in your mind, congratulations. There's some proof of your indoctrination. Because black olives exist, right? But how come green popped in your mind the second I said olive? When you look up the color code spectrum for olive, it goes from light beige all the way to black olives if you ever ordered that crap on like Domino's Pizza when you was out of your territory where you normally get your shit from. Feel me? That's to say, we had over 200 different physical representations of peoples on the continent since time immemorial. That's what places like the Smithsonian has been hiding from you. That's why of textbook dictionaries, thesauruses, etymological dictionaries, time and time again. They take out what they can or change the meaning to the connotative so that if you came across the wrong edition, you still be lost in the source.
What's up, Greeny?
That's the truth.
Check it out, man.
Whether
I don't know if you mess with this intelligent stuff, but I do. So these are some Moors giving us some real game about the law and how things are
wrote. I've done this example many a times in Pete's Key. I think I've done this before on our platform too, where I said, you know, if I tell you,
this right here,
if I tell a person,
is my partner,
your mother is a really nice queen.
Brother is
you took that as a compliment. Congratulations.
And I'm gonna try to interview him. I'm just hitting my partner Dr. Bay up. I was just hitting him up so I can interview him on my
meaning of the word
on the string yard. Where people want to come in, they can actually come in and ask questions.
Queen, which is spelled
because we always used to go back and forth over this black and white stuff.
Value.
I mean, it might break some of you
niggas'
heart. I
just call your mother a foolish hooker, and you said that causes problems. You say? There are words that we are using every day in our language today that have this flip-flop push. I don't give people gifts. You know why I don't give people gifts? I give people presents. I don't give people gifts because I know that English comes from Old High German. And if you look in German today, like from World War II, those cans of Cyclone B or whatever that were being pumped in those chambers, those cans say gift gas.
Man, like I'm saying, you did help say, you spell it?
Yeah.
Gift
I didn't know Cedric was on. I just gave him a like and hollered at him real fast.
But the cans that were being used at the Holocaust camps were said of Zyklon B, gift gas. Get it? Poison gas.
Can I ask you a question?
That's why I was saying in the beginning when I came on, we have to master the words that we use every day so that we understand clearly what it is that the messaging that we're putting out. Because people on the other side of the planet may not have the same journey that you had.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Oh, sure. So what if the intention of the person was the intention, the need, the want to hurt somebody, for example, and whether the words were like nice or whatever the meaning, the synonym, however it comes across, how does the connection of the actual meaning, whether saying the word right or saying the word wrong, connect to my intent to want to do something? You get my question?
It'd be received by others who speak denotatively as the wrong message that you're trying to push. Because even though your intention was connotatively nice, they interpret it as being something foolish. Why would I invest in you?
Yes.
Correct.
So it is what
Let me get you a background on the conversation.
You know, you're never going to find anything.
I got called by my partner Pete Ski around about 11 o'clock this morning. It is 6 o'clock this evening right now, right? So we're going on 7 hours on this conversation.
And it come into existence into the 12th, 13th century.
So
12th century.
It started off as
12th century, 13th.
A white dude want to hold white people accountable for the way they act.
The word black,
something happened.
Meaning black didn't exist until.
Listen real fast. I'll explain later.
How did Herodotus then talk about the black peoples of Egypt in 400 BC? 400 BC to 1300 AD, we're talking over 1,100 years. That's over a millennium. That nobody ever said Tibetans were black. But people want to take that modern term and inject it into the past, which you can't do. Because they don't understand that black, white are just legal statuses. And what you're saying when you say someone's black is that stateless person. So a stateless person, you can't open a bank account, you can't open a business, you can't start a charity to help people because you're stateless. You are in a place that you don't belong. Go back to the place that you belong to, and you can go set up whatever connotative nice thing you want to set up. You follow? Okay.
I appreciate that. We got to hit those. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I think you got a bunch of messages.
We got Rocky. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Gosh almighty. Hello? Just a little bit. What's up? Just a little bit. What's going on?
Oh, nothing. I just talked to y'all. Meet you at the place
Oh.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll meet y'all then.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Everybody, but it's good. It's knowledge. You gotta get it.
This the dude who called
for the moment. You know, so you elaborate
on the panel. I was
you
up there for about 30 minutes.
It's the moment.
That's the only
You can't lose this moment. We got to get it off. And I appreciate people's patience because you are educating, and that's very
us by planned efforts of certain people to keep us away from it. Does that make sense? Because we read this, understand that the law of nature comes before all other laws, including the canons, including the other maxims. Because there was never a time where nature didn't exist. And if anyone has power greater than the great mother that we call Earth today, which has had many names over the chronicles of chronological events, from Gaia to Midgard to Asia to Donar and many more. Those are just a few to get started with. It's the opportunity to express that. You hear it, take it. You don't have to pass judgment at the time of hearing it, but sit with it. Do whatever it is you got to do, whether it's you're going to let the ethers handle it, meaning that I'm not going to make a conscious effort to go look at it, but I'll leave the gates open for the universe to present what it must present. Yeah. And then you come across either a demonstration like you have today, or you come across an information of a factoid on your social media that supports it, and you're like, look at here. I wasn't even trying to find verification, but the damn thing's been right in front of my face. Look at that. That's just the universe telling you, we've always been here. The question is, when do we want to emit it and start acting it?
And here goes somebody and here goes a piece that I really did. You know, I'm having a takeaway right now, and all I can say is this, you know, if it's really 2022, you know, whatnot, I'm just saying that if it's on the planet as of right now, I believe that it has to scientifically be on the planet because the original man wants it on the planet. The original man clearly saw fit for whatever else is on this planet running around, saw fit for it to still be here. And that's why I make that argument about people coming from us. You know, how you not going to love that which come from you, no matter what it look like. And it don't mean that you're going to get love in return. Sometimes it be a slap in the face. And we all know that as parents.
Already.
Yep. Sometimes it don't be our fault. Sometimes the genes be a little bit off. Sometimes this person need a little bit more working with than the next person. Some people take more to civilize than others.
Yep.
You know? But that don't mean we don't love them, though. That don't. I mean, when I say love them, I mean honor them as equals. And that's one thing about me. When I say no slavery, even if I kill you, I ain't gonna never think that you wasn't nothing like you. You was never. You was a worthy act. You was never a sheep or a dog. You was never an object. That's where I draw the line. That I'm not gonna sit back and lie to myself and say what is ain't. You know, I'm not going to, even I got a spiritual understanding of where I'm not your creator, even though I may be your killer, even though I may take your life, but I'm not your creator. Therefore, and that's just me from what I've learned, you know, in my little 45-year, you know, little journey on this little, you know, during this little time space. And I mean that, you know, I really don't believe in treating people like numbers and objects, even though that's how they treat us. And that's why we're able to really operate in the system. That's why I say I hear everything you're saying, and it's spoken like, you know, like, hey, I really get it. Like, I get it. And it's sad that you got to really have this type of information to move through society without, you know, totally just train wrecking yourself, you know? That's sad.
We've had a lot of people who have been able to who know this information, but they act like keepers and keep it to death. You know what I'm saying? They just do what's beneficial for only themselves. And then you have opportunists that come onto the scene and see people that people's in trouble and try to make a quick fake dollar by trying to sell nationality to people. And that's also, you know, traitorous activities to the nation.
Right.
Now, hold on, can I interject real quick? Because you made a power statement. And both of you, on your strongest of knowledge, and maybe share some advice. You said, go through life and do a train wreck. Now, credit, paying bills, bad relationships, the gang, jail. Can you talk about the train wreck of going through life and maybe how to avoid it? And from a wisdom, and I'm not really tapping into your age, just kind of drop some knowledge on maybe how to not necessarily avoid it. Maybe you can, but talk about the train wreck, because I've been through lumps in my life and it sucks. You know, I mean, I pay my own bills, but still, the process to get to where I am, it sucked too. It was good times, but still, train wreck, credit, this and that, and bankruptcy, and homelessness, and welfare, and Section 8, and I'm talking as a man, too. I'm versatile in survival. So can you talk to that?
Sure. The train wrecks that you've gone through in life, that others have gone through, or are going through right now, or about to go through right now. Did you know there's a lot of people who haven't paid so-called rent or made mortgage payments thanks to COVID in quite some time? Your place, if they do the whole eviction song and dance, your domicile that you got kicked out of, and they put a lock on and a pink paper stapled to the door saying for lack of payment, that's not going to go down on their books as lack of payment. That's going to go down on their books as you abandoned it.
That's fucking crazy.
This is why I was starting off with the Clearfield doctrine, so that you can see in a fiat system, you can't pay any bills. You can only discharge. Because the tool that you got to so-called pay has no value.
It doesn't. It's not worth it.
The only value it has is what the people give it.
That's it.
But there's nothing of value that's tied to it in the physical other than the hopes and dream. So buy into that American dream. That's what they're telling you. The whole relationship aspect and going through divorces or breaking up and this, that, other, all of that comes from the brother. I can only speak from a brother's point of view. That's it. I've never been a mother, so I can't speak from that perspective. But from a son's perspective, I can say, until you're able to master lower self and higher self. And don't get it twisted. I'm not going to go into the triple back ethers and this, that, and let's go look at the wall of Kemet. Slow your roll. What I'm saying is, you need to know yourself. If you know that you got buttons that someone can push and you're going to react a certain way, guess what you just really stated? What you just stated is there is an emotional, non-physical way that someone can act or do that will get me to respond like a trained monkey. You say the word nigger 12 times, and that's it. The nigger side of me comes out, and I'm gonna beat your ass right here. I'm gonna rip off that white guy's arm and beat you with the wet side. That's nigger shit. And the fucked up thing about it, excuse my French, is that the whole nigga thing, and I'm not doing this to hurt anyone's feelings, and again, truth needs no apology. The word niggard comes from troglodyte niggard. It's a non-melanated monkey that doesn't like to hang in the trees. It likes to burrow underneath in the roots, be in the dirt.
It's the dummy.
So as far as the, I'm sorry to interject, but as far as the N-word, is there a misunderstanding from the person, millennials that use it and think it's a sense of a sense of appreciation, brotherhood,
N-I-G-G-A as opposed to N-I-G-G-E-R? No damn difference.
We talked about it earlier. It was hours ago, and it came out to millennials, Gen Z, disconnect of understanding the word. They don't understand, even in the way they use it. They don't understand. It's a disconnect to what it actually means. If I'm not mistaken.
The word comes from the animal world. In Latin, we named everything on the planet because we've been here for that damn long. And it's come from troglodyte nigar, which is Yoruba monkey. You can look it up and you will find troglodyte nigar. You can nigar, and you can see graphical or pictures, images of them. They're brownish hair as opposed to dark black, and their complexion is non-melanated. It's a monkey that likes to burrow. It doesn't like to hang in trees.
No,
and supposedly,
up there.
if you know a little bit about RH and being RH negative or RH positive, you know that the RH stands for rhesus, right? Rhesus, as in the rhesus monkey.
Right.
Never knew that.
And you know that 98% of the DNA of that particular mammal that we call monkeys match perfectly with the DNA of humans. 98%. Not saying this ain't something that was coming from the National Enquirer at the supermarket. This is stuff that you can go look up at. You were impressed by universities that you are impressed by as being documented facts. It's up to you what you want to do with it. Now, if I may, I do want to make sure I drive home the point on the clear food doctrine. I'd like to read what the speech was that James Traficant Jr. gave in Congress that caused him to get executed by certain three-letter agencies. How they executed him, by the way, for anyone who's curious, you have a descendant of a multi-generational farmer who's on a farm working on his tractor, but he decides to get underneath the tractor while changing a tire, and the tractor falls off the jack, crushing him. I don't think farmers would put themselves, who have been generationally raised as farmers, would put themselves in that type of harm's way. So here's the speech, and you can figure it out on your own because I think it's pretty clear if you hear the words that he's speaking. Mm-hmm. So it was on the 17th of March, 1993. You can look up the United States Congressional Record. It's in volume 33, And for anyone curious, page H is in Harry, 1303 is where the speech is entered. He states the following. Speaker Representative James Traficant Jr., Representative of Ohio, addressing the House. Quote, Mr. Speaker, we are now in Chapter 11. Members of Congress are official trustees presiding over the greatest reorganization of any bankrupt entity in the world history, the United States government. We are setting forth, hopefully, a blueprint for our future. There are some who say it is a coroner's report that will lead to our demise. It is established, and it is an established fact that the United States federal government has been dissolved by the Emergency Banking Act of March 9th, 1933, 48 Statute 1, Public Law 89-719, declared by President Roosevelt, being bankrupt and insolvent. House Joint Resolution 192, 73rd Congress in session, June 5th, 1933. Joint resolution to suspend the gold standard and abrogate the gold clause, dissolve the sovereign authority of the United States and the official capacities of all United States governmental officers, and departments, and is further evidence that the United States federal government exists today in name only. The receivers of the United States bankruptcy are international bankers via the United Nations, the World Bank, and the IMF. That's the International Monetary Fund. Yes. All United States offices, officials, departments are now operating within a de facto status in name only under emergency war powers. This is why you have to have a war on everything, the war on drugs, the war on education, the war on whatever. With the constitutional Republican form of government now dissolved, the receivers of the bankruptcy have adopted a new form of the government for the United States. This new form of government is known as democracy, being an established socialist/communist order under a new governor for America. This act was instituted and established by transferring and or placing the office of the Secretary of Treasury to that of the Governor of the International Monetary Fund. Public Law 94-564, page 8, section House Resolution 13955, reads in part, quote, the U.S. Secretary of Treasury receives no compensation for representing the United States, end quote. Gold and silver were such a powerful money during the founding of the lowercase United, lowercase states of capitalized America, that the founding fathers really are the framers, not the founding fathers, because the founding fathers were Moors, per the interjection. The founding fathers declared that only gold or silver coins can be, quote unquote, money in America. That's listed in the Constitution for anyone who's curious, go read it. Since gold and silver coinage were heavy and inconvenient for a lot of transactions, they were stored in banks, and a claim check was issued as a money substitute. People traded the coupons as money or quote unquote currency. Currency is not money, but a money substitute. Redeemable currency must promise to pay a dollar equivalent in gold or silver money. Federal Reserve notes, FRNs, make no such promises and are not, quote unquote, money. A Federal Reserve note is a debt obligation of the federal United States government, not money. The federal United States government, United States both capitalized, and the capital U.S. capital Congress were not and have never been authorized by the Constitution for the lowercase states of America to issue currency of any kind, but only lawful money, gold and silver coin. It is essential that we comprehend the distinction between real money, gold and silver coin, and paper money substitute, what you call a dollar bill. One cannot get rich accumulating money substitutes. One can only get deeper into debt. The people no longer have any quote-unquote money. Most Americans have not been paid any quote-unquote money for a very long time, perhaps not in their entire life. Now, do you comprehend why you feel broke? Now, do you understand why you are, quote, bankrupt along with the rest of the country? Federal Reserve notes are unsigned checks written on a closed account. FRNs are an inflatable paper system designed to create debt through inflation. Inflation is just devaluation of a currency. Currency is a substitute for actual constitutional money, what we call paper bills. Whenever there is an increase of the supply of money substitute in the economy without a corresponding increase in the gold and silver backing, inflation occurs. Inflation is an invisible form of taxation that irresponsible governments inflict on their citizens. The Federal Reserve Bank, who controls the supply and movement of FRNs, has everybody fooled. They have access to an unlimited supply of FRNs, paying only for the printing costs of what they need. FRNs are nothing more than promissory notes for U.S. Treasury securities. You know them as T-bills, or may have heard of them as T-bills, which is a promise to pay the debt to the Federal Reserve Bank. There is a fundamental difference between quote-unquote paying and quote-unquote discharging a debt. To pay a debt, you must pay with a value or substance, i.e. gold, silver, barter, or your commodity. With FRNs, you can only discharge a debt. You cannot pay a debt with a debt currency system. You cannot service a debt with currency that has no backing in value or substance. No contract in common law is valid unless it involves an exchange of, quote, goods and valuable consideration. End quote. Unpayable debt transfer power and control to sovereign power structures that has no interest in money, law, equity, or justice because they have so much wealth already. Their love, power, and control. Since their inception of central banking, they have controlled the fates of nations. The Federal Reserve System is based on the canon law. Canon law means church law, for those who may not know, and the principles of sovereignty protected in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. In fact, the international bankers used a, quote, canon law trust as their model, adding stock and naming it a joint stock trust. The U.S. Congress has passed a law making it illegal for any legal, quote-unquote, person to duplicate a joint stock trust in 1873. The Federal Reserve Act was legislated post facto, which just means post facto is that they legislated it after the fact, to 1870, even though it was signed in 1873. So although post facto laws are strictly forbidden by the Constitution, Article 1, Section 9, third paragraph, third century, the Federal Reserve System is a sovereign power structure separate and distinct from the federal _ United States government. The Federal Reserve is a maritime lender and or maritime insurer underwriter.
Y'all would be mad.
The lowercase federal uppercase United
You'd be pissed off if you didn't know.
Operating exclusively
if you found out Donald Trump was really still president.
Maritime law. The lender or underwriter bears the risk, and the maritime law compels specific performance.
To Florida, wherever he at.
Interest or premium are the same. As to the debtor, can
be pissed
also
off,
be
huh?
hypothecated. What's hypothecation mean is
We
to
in two
pledge
governments
something
right now.
as a
Y'all,
security
man, we don't even know.
without taking possession of it. That's what hypothecation means. As security. So assets of the debtor can also be hypothecated as security by the lender or underwriter. The Federal Reserve Act stipulated that the interest of the debt was to be paid in gold. There was no stipulation in the Federal Reserve Act for ever paying the principal. Prior to 1913, most Americans owned clear and allodial title to property. For those who don't know, look up the word allodial in Black's Law Dictionary. It's spelled A-L-L as in all, O-D-I-A-L. Clearing the allodial title to property free and clear of any liens or mortgages. Mortgages, by the way, means death pledge, mort. That's why a mortician handles dead bodies, mort. And gage just is old French for the time, or as a promise. Hence, you have promissory notes when you close on your house. Okay, that has to be signed. You're actually making a death pledge to the Federal Reserve via the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. Hypothecated all so the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 hypothecated all properties within the federal United States to the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve. Within the federal United States within which the trustees, which are the stockholders, held legal title. The U.S. citizen, tenant, or franchisee is what you're considered as, was registered as the beneficiary of the trust via his or her birth certificate. 1933, the federal United States hypothecated all of the present and future properties, assets, and labors of their quote-unquote subjects, the 14th Amendment U.S. citizens, to the Federal Reserve System. This is why our prophet came and told us, you are not Negro, black, and colored, and you do not need the 14th or 15th Amendment for your salvation. He came and he brought us everything we needed, which is this information. In return, the Federal Reserve System agreed to extend the federal, lowercase federal, uppercase United States Corporation, all the credit money substitute it needed. Like any other debtor, the federal United States government had to assign collateral and security to the creditors as a condition of the loan. Since the federal United States didn't have any assets, they assigned the private property of their quote-unquote economic slaves, end quote, the U.S. citizens as collateral against the unpayable federal debt. They also pledged the unincorporated federal territories, national parks, forests, birth certificates, and nonprofit organizations as collateral against the federal debt. So you think you're doing something by going out and getting your LLC? When the debt gets called, even that goes bye-bye too. All has already been transferred as payment to the international bankers. Unwittingly, America has returned, and when he uses the term America, we know that he's talking about a jurisdiction sandwiched between Canada and Mexico, not a Mexim, which is all of the continent, including the adjoining islands. Unwittingly, America has returned to its pre-American Revolution feudal roots, whereby all land is held by a sovereign and the common people have no rights to hold a allodial title to property. Once again, we the people are the tenants of sharecroppers renting our own property from a sovereign in the guise of the Federal Reserve Bank. We the people have exchanged one master for another. This has been going on for over 80 years without the quote-unquote informed knowledge of the American people, without a voice protesting loud enough. Now it's easy to grasp why America is fundamentally bankrupt. Why do more people own their properties outright? Why are 90% of Americans mortgaged to the hilt and have little or no assets after all debts and liabilities have been paid? Why does it feel like you're working harder and harder, yet less and less? We are reaping what has been sown, and the results of our harvest is a painful bankruptcy and a foreclosure on American property, precious liberties, and a way of life. Few of our elected representatives in Washington, D.C. have dared to tell the truth. The federal United States is bankrupt. Our children will inherit this unpayable debt and the tyranny to enforce paying it. America has become completely bankrupt in world leadership, financial credit, and its reputation for courage, vision, and human rights. This is an undeclared economic war, bankruptcy, and economic slavery of the most corrupt order. Wake up, America. Take back your country. Again, this is the speech read into the congressional record on the 3rd of March, 1993. Make sure I give you the right date. Yep, March 17th, or 1993, Volume 3, page H, 1303, United States Congressional Record. The speaker was Representative James Traficant Jr., representative of Ohio Territory, who was addressing the House. Any questions on what I just read and what James Traficant, rest in peace, what that brother read into the constitutional record, congressional record?
No.
All right. Then I've made mention on a different podcast with you, Pete Ski, about the 1320 and what that was all about. 1320, for those who don't know, there was 2 constitutions of the United States of America. The organic, natural, and then the GMO one. How can you tell the difference? All right. I'm going to give you 2 keys to be able to tell the difference when you're looking at the Constitution, whether it's the legit one, the de jure, or if it was the de facto one that got us to where we're at right now. First key. Pete Ski, I have a present for you.
Yes.
I also, Lord Playboy, I have a present of Lord Playboy's estate.
Sure.
Okay. So, in this example, who's getting the present? Is both Pete Ski and Lord Playboy getting a present? Or was Pete Ski getting a present and Lord Playboy gave a present?
I'd say both, because that relates to taxes.
Close. It's actually the other way. Meaning,
Okay.
Constitution, or the gift for, as opposed to the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution for the United States. A gift for is a gift to you, Pete Ski, but the gift of, right, it means it comes from you. So there's your one key to tell which Constitution is reading. There's an easier way to tell, okay? If you forget about
sharing that.
No problem. If you forget about the difference between of and for, the Constitution for the United States of America and the Constitution of the United States of America. How can you tell the difference? That's the 1320. 1320 refers to the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. One that is de jure, the one that's been hidden from you, has 20 sections. The one that if you go to D.C. today and they show you on tour, that one only has 2. So the 13th Amendment only has 2 sections, which are 2 sentences. That's the GMO Constitution. So what's in the organic 13 with the 20 section? How about if I read it to you?
Sure.
13th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States, ratified November 18th, 1865, by 3/4 or 3/4 of the several states. Section 1. All persons shall have the right to peaceably to assemble and worship God according to the dictates of their own conscience. Section 2. The use of public press shall not be obstructed, but criminal publications made in one state against the lawful institutions of another state shall not be allowed. Section 3. The right of a citizen to free and lawful speech in public assemblies shall not be denied. Access of citizens to the ballot box shall not be obstructed either by civil or military power. The military shall always be subordinate to the existing judicial authority over citizens. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall never, ever, I added that efforts, by the way, shall never be suspended in the presence of the judicial authority. Section 4. The militia of a state or of the United States, capitalized, shall not be employed to invade the lawful rights of the people of any of the several states, but the United States shall not be hereby deprived of the right and power to defend and protect its property and rights within the limits of any state. Section 5. Persons held to service or labor for life in any state under the laws thereof may be taken into any territory of the United States south of north latitude 36 degrees 30 and the right to such service or labor shall not be impaired thereby, and the territorial legislature thereof shall have the exclusive right to make and shall make all needed rules and regulations for the protection of such right, and also for the protection of such persons. But Congress or any territorial legislature shall not have the power to impair and abolish such right of service in the said territory while in a territorial condition without consent of all the states south of said latitude which maintain such service. You know that as the Mason-Dixon line, but that's the latitude. Latitude 36 degrees, latitude 36 degrees 30. Section 6, involuntary servitude. Involuntary servitude, except for crime, shall not be permanently established within the district set apart from the seat of government of the United States, but the right of sojourn in such district, person held to service or labor for life shall not be denied. What did that just say? It just said if you bring your slave into D.C. because you in D.C. And you brought your slave with you, they can't say that they're free now because they're there. They're going to honor that shit. Section 7. There's a reason I'm going through this. You'll see why.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not too tight on it, so I'm learning. Okay, right. So good.
Good. Section 7. When any territory of the United States south of north latitude 36 degree 30, that Mexican shall have a population equal to the ratio of representation for one member of Congress, and the people thereof shall have formed a constitution for a republican form of government. It shall be admitted as a state into the Union on equal footing to each other state, and the people may, in such constitution, either prohibit or sustain the right to involuntary labor or service, and alter or amend the Constitution at their will. Section 7, what that is saying is that it's up to each individual state that's joining the Union or whether or not they're going to go along with slavery or anti-slavery in their so-called jurisdiction. Section 8. The present right of representation, Section 2, Article 1 of this Constitution, shall not be altered without the consent of all the states capitalized the state, maintaining the right to involuntary service or labor south of latitude 36 degree north. That's that Dixon line. Right. Yeah. But nothing in this Constitution or its amendments shall be construed to deprive any state south of said latitude 36 degree 30 of the right of abolishing involuntary servitude at its will. That saying, Section 8, is that if a state wanted to join the Union, said we're going to keep slavery going for 2 decades, 20 years, and then after that, we're going to end it. Okay. If that's what your state wants to do, you can do it. That's what I'm saying. Section 9. The regulation and control of the right to labor or service in any of the states south of latitude 36 degree 30 is hereby recognized to be exclusively the right of each state within its own limits, and this Constitution shall not be altered or amended to impair this right of each state without its consent, provided this article shall not be construed to absolve the United States, and both United and States are capitalized, from rendering assistance to suppress insurrections or domestic violence when called upon by any state as provided in Section 4, Article 4 of this Constitution. Basically, any of these jurisdictions, territory known as state, if shit hits the fan and there is or civil disobedience, they're saying that the state could call for federal help. Section 10. No state shall pass any law in any way interfering with or obstructing the cover of fugitive from justice or labor or service or any law of Congress made under Article 4, Section 2 of this Constitution. And all laws in violation of this section may, on complaint made by any person or state, be declared void by the Supreme Court of the United States. But that's basically saying in plain English is that if you have a fugitive, this is why you have certain agencies are able to cross quote unquote territorial lines pursuing a so-called fugitive of justice. You want it in Pennsylvania, at the territory of Pennsylvania, you ran to California, you're going to get quote unquote federal marshals come hunt your ass down and bring you back to Pennsylvania if that's the state that has issue with. Section 11. At the right of comity between the several states south of latitude 36 and degree 30, the basic decimal line, the right of transit with persons held to involuntary labor or service from one state to another shall not be obstructed, but such persons shall not be brought into the state north of said latitude. This is again into the involuntary service, right? What they call slavery, the Slavs. Section 12. The traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death and the forfeiture of all rights, property of persons engaged therein. And the descendant of Africans shall not be citizens. I'm going to read 12 again. The traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death, and the forfeiture of all the rights and property of persons engaged therein. And the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. What was the date of this again? For those who may not remember, it was ratified November 18th. What year? 1865 by three quarters of the several states, which by speaking means it's legitimately ratified. All right. So keep that 12 in mind, that the slaves, right, African slaves in Africa, past 1865, not only got you killed, but all your shit got confiscated.
So let me say something. So think of a lifetime, 1865. So technically a person could be born maybe 18, maybe 50, could potentially live to the 40s. And slavery, you know, we talk, 400 years ago, but 1865 ain't too far ago. And it's not even that for me. Think about policy. Think about the mentality. Think about nepotism. Think about things where 1865 is not that far away, whether we are in 2022. We're talking about a country, a mentality, people in power. So when you speak to that year, you know, that I think from a generation, that's going to take a couple of generations to kind of not say smooth it out, but maybe be ready to, you know, embrace the discussion. So what you're saying is so ambiguous because it applies to how people are perceiving it, but it's also the message. It's like we need to have this discussion, I feel, because it's meaningful, and it may sound dry and it may be overburdened or related to whatever for some, but it's essential. And that's why I say speak, because it's a different type of language. It's a different type of talk. It's just different. It's not what I'm normally hearing on any platform. So you are appreciated, you know? And then for those people who aren't following along and trying to, just listen to it again. You know, just listen to it again and connect. Are you open to people communicating with you for knowledge?
To an extent. If I'm in the public arena, you're more than welcome to engage me there. If you want to engage me through social media, I'm on Instagram. You can engage me on my post there. But as far as doing like one-on-one consultations types, I'm sorry.
No doubt. No, it's respect. It sounds like you really. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, Sam. Let me just finish these 20 because.
Oh, sure. No, of course. Please do.
That we should cover. All right. So we just got off of 12. The 12 dealt with, again, this is the 13th Amendment with its 20 sections. This is the de jure 13th Amendment. The GMO version of the 13th Amendment, if you quickly go on your browser and do a web search, I don't care what kind of browser, it could be Google or DuckDuckGo, whatever, you'll see that they'll say today that the 13th Amendment only has 2 sections. That's the GMO, okay? Now back to the de jure or the natural 13th Amendment with all 20 sections. Section 13, listen up to this back half. This is the part that's most important. I know the first 12 were a little dry, but it's setting the stage for what we're about to cover. Section 13. Alleged fugitives from labor or service on request shall have a trial by a jury before being returned. All right.
Hi, boys.
I'm sorry, I apologize with that. Yeah, where he's reading, we're listening. 1 second. Sure. Go ahead, brother.
Section 14. All alleged fugitives charged with a crime committed in violation of the law of the state shall have the right of trial by jury. And if such person claims to be a citizen of another state, shall have a right of appeal or of a writ of error to the Supreme Court of the United States. The writ of error is just saying that, hey, you're trying to prosecute me on something on a territory that I have nothing to do with. I'm at this territory. This is the territory that should be where my peers are at, supposedly. We know what that really boils down to today, but so good. Section 15. All acts of any inhabitant of the United Capital States tending to incite persons held to service or labor to insurrection or acts of domestic violence or to abscond are here prohibited and declared to be a penal offense, and all the courts of the United States shall be open to suppress and punish such offenses at the suit of any citizen of the United States or the suit of any quote-unquote state. So Article 15 or Section 15 of the 13th Amendment is basically saying, if you're talking shit about people who are serving life, people who are slaves, telling them, yo, you know, you don't have to be in this, you can get out of this, you could just abscond, this means to run away. They can actually shut your ass down and lock you up for doing that. Wow. Because they were separating from the Mason-Dixon line that if you in the South, it's up to the state to decide whether or not it's going to be a slave state or not. If you was above the Mason-Dixon line, which is why they keep referring to that specific longitude and degree, then you don't have to worry about it. It's already done. That's all non-slave area. Section 16.
Thank you for the information.
Islam. All conspiracies in any state to interfere with the lawful right in any other state or against the United States shall be suppressed, and no state or the people thereof shall withdraw from this union without the consent of 3/4 of all states, expressed by an amendment proposed and ratified in the manner provided in Article 5 of the Constitution. Basically, you have to present the argument on the floor, and then you take a vote, and if 3/4 of the states say okay and fit of, then it stands and ratified. Section 17. Whenever any state within involuntary servitude is recognized or allowed, shall propose to abolish such servitude and shall apply for pecuniary cash funding assistance therein, the Congress may, in its discretion, grant such relief not exceeding $100 for each person liberated. But Congress shall not propose such abolishment or relief. Congress may assist free persons of African descent to immigrate and colonize Africa. That's how Libya started, y'all. Look it up. That was the UNIA's, Marcus Garvey's Back to Africa, Black Star. That's what that movement was getting support from and was all about. Sending people who thought they were descendants of back to Mother Africa. And you got a spot called Libya, which comes from libre, which means freedom in Moorish Latin or Spanish today. But anyway, moving on. Section 18. Duties on imports, duties are taxes, by the way. Duties on imports may be imposed for revenue, but shall not be excessive or prohibitory in amount. Section 19. When all of the several states shall have abolished slavery, then and thereafter slavery or involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, shall never be established or tolerated in any of the states or territories of the United States, and they shall be forever free. The last section states, the provisions of this article relating to involuntary labor or servitude shall not be altered without the consent of all the states maintaining such servitude. This is the organic
Thank you.
13th Amendment with 20 sections. For those who said, well, where's the freedom piece? All I heard was descendants of African slaves cannot be citizens. Well, yeah, because they ain't bring that many here. The majority of them went to the United States of Brazil. By the way, that's Brazil's real name. Estados Unidos de Brasil.
No, thank you.
The same as Mexico's Estados Unidos de Mexico. For those who don't speak modern day Spanish, which we call Moorish Latin back in the day, that's how you say United States. Estados Unidos. Estados is states, Unidos united. And that means of, and then you state the territory. For those that say that, oh, but yo, this is talking about descendants of African can't be American citizen. Yeah, you're right. Descendants of African slaves can't be American citizens. No question about that. But where does that say that African is only a Moor? There are Africans who don't know about their Moorish nationality as well. See the color game being played?
Mm-hmm.
The nationality game being played? If you have a nationality, you already saw from the definition of the free white person that they're not to be molested, and free white person includes Moorish inhabitants, whether they're mixed with Celtic, Iberian, or...
Bingo.
I think you for telling that.
To show you that nationality is not just the order of the day. Nationality is the solution. However, I do know that certain outlets for mass media have made certain words sound like connotatively as negative things. You know, you hear, oh, you don't want to be considered one of those liberals. Yeah, being liberal is a bad thing until you look up the etymological definition of the word liberal, and see, you can already know it from the definition, from the word, that you see libre in the word. And libre means freedom.
Freedom.
Large Latin, modern Spanish, right? But it also meant liberal, adjective, mid-14th century, generous. Also, nobly born, noble, free, from late 14th century. That's the 1500s. As selfless, magnanimous, and admirable. So, and the definition continues on over the years, and you'll see from to the 1500s, then the 1600s, to the 1700s, to the 1800s, they added different little flavors to it. But it doesn't change the original meaning of befitting free people, noble, generous, willing, zealous. That's from the 12th century. Directly from Latin, liberalis, noble, gracious, munificent, generous, literally of freedom, pertaining to or befitting a free person. From liber, which means, quote, free, unrestricted, unimpeded, unbridled, unchecked, litigious. Don't get mad at me. I'm just showing you the etymological definition of the word. You could go back to watching MSNBC or whatever other CNN, whatever, that says that liberal is a bad thing. Liberal's a bad thing in the democracy system.
Bingo.
Because we already told you, after the bankruptcy, that's when they installed that new type of government called democracy. Democracy means ruled by mob. So whatever the majority of the mob wants, that's what's done. Has no respect to the law. We got to go left or right. 49 of us say left, 51 say right. We're going right because that's the majority rule. Has no looking into the maxims, no stare decisis. Now, this is why I always challenge to anyone who listens, go into the United States Constitution. I don't care which one. Bring me back a copy where you find the word democracy in the Constitution. I'll pay your weight in silver. Whatever the hell you weigh. I don't care if you big and heavy or whatever they call. Don't care. Step on the scale. You want to get your weight in silver. And the only reason why I could be that bold with that offer is because I read both versions, and nowhere in neither version does it talk about democracy. The word Republican form of government said a hell of a lot. So what does Republican form of government mean? Does that mean y'all got to be Fox Noise watchers and support the GOP, which stands for Grand Old Party? Hell no. You need to know that the Grand Old Party was Moorish, was you. You got to know before you had this one bird, two-wing system, left wing, right wing, same fucking evil bird, that cycle. Okay. Whigs, and then the Whiggamore Party. That's where the Grand Old Party comes from. It's a congregation of them. Those Whigs, right, had two flavors. You had the conservative side, right, which was the what they say is the if you look at the spelling of the term for the Whig Party, of the Whig Party of Moors, they pronounce it one way, but when you look at the spelling, you see that it says conscious Whigs as opposed to the Whiggamores. The Whiggamores were Moors that had to wear wigs because they didn't have the right texture hair because they were amalgamated. They're modern day Europeans. There are conscious Moors. The conscious Whigs were known as conservatives. What does conservative means? It means you preserve. You are a caretaker. You don't want changes. You want to keep things the way it was for your parents and great-grandparents, so that your children and great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren, who you probably wouldn't be around to eat, will have the same luxuries afforded to your great-grandparents would be afforded to your great-grandchildren. Do you follow?
Mm-hmm.
It was the introduction of the amalgamated wig wearers, the Whiggamores, that later then became, when they merged with those that bleached out and stood with it, to form the Grand Old Party. That's where you get terms in politics of you have to have a big tent, and by having a big tent, we can have both sides of the argument still housed under one roof, so that our numbers represent larger than the populace. Not that it really mattered back then about majority, because majority, minority, you already know, those are legal terms. Minority doesn't mean you have less numbers. Minority means you're a minor, which means you have the mind state of a child because you was miseducated, which makes you a ward of the state, which means the state has to become your parent, your mama or daddy, and speak for you. This is why in the court of law, you're told to shut the hell up, and your attorney, court officer of the court that's assigned to you, that you then pay, will do your presenting your case, and you're not allowed to speak for yourself. Because in law, you were considered a child-minded retard, to say it a different way. You're mentally incapable to have a discussion in regards to your affairs because you've been miseducated. That's the whole legal system that you have today. That's why if you go in appropriate persona, which they hate to see anymore, or any cute being, natural being, I should say, stand on their square and be in appropriate persona. Appropriate persona means in Latin, in one's own person, which means that you got issues with me, the being, bring it on, right here, to defend or to capitulate and take whatever punishment that comes, because it's me. But if you want to talk to all caps Pete Ski, well, that's a fictitious name that's like Walmart on a birth certificate. By the way, you can check to see whether or not your quote-unquote SSN or employee identification number is being used currently. The website, let me find it for you. There is a website that you can go to, and in that website, you would enter in your so-called, not yours, the assigned social security number to you. And by entering that assigned social security number, it pulls back all of the different trading tools that have been used that number is attached to. And that number represents what you do in life.
That's deep. That's real deep. You have the website that we could check it out?
Yeah, give me a minute. I just got to find it.
Because you hear about that birth certificates are tenders or certificates or something. So to have something like that where you can look behind the scenes, that brings very deep questions. First of all, the legitimacy of the website, and if this is true, where's the discussion on this? You know, at least in my perspective.
Sure. I just showed you 1/10 of the discussion of it from March 17th, 1993 by James Conn Jr. And we found out what happened to him getting crushed under his tractor. But, you know.
Yeah.
Sure, that was an accident. Yeah, yeah, when I find it, I will.
Yeah, we'll run through these messages if you don't mind, or do you have more right now you want to shoot? Sure. Okay, I'm gonna just run through. This is straight run through.
Shout out to the panel. Just stopping by, just enjoying the conversation. You know, dumb shit probably will always exist. I don't necessarily think that's a problem, because usually when somebody does some dumb shit, it's made aware to them they did some dumb shit. So hopefully they correct that and don't continue to do dumb shit. So we have to sometimes fail in order to succeed. And yeah, I mean, people do dumb shit all the time, but adapt, improvise, and overcome. This is the Egos. I ain't heard us say nothing foul or bad about white people. And we are talking about about how we can be successful. If that's all you hearing out of this conversation is white people, well then, because we've been going at it for a while, you probably need to rewind, because you probably missed a lot. Accountability is big, especially with self. This is what we trying to get through. And also, to go further on labels, this is the problem we have. And I'm just going to use a simple term. If you call it a table, but I can sit on it, is it really a table? Think about that next time someone calls you black, or you call somebody, or someone calls you white. Know what I'm saying?
With that sharp bites, with its teeth big, scarlet billows start to spread.
Hi Peachkey, hi Leo, hi Forever, hi Kenya, how y'all doing?
You killing my joke, bruh? I was making fun of that white woman that, you know, was doing the can't we all get along shit. Don't be killing my joke, bruh.
No fault. Sorry about that. My fault. Yeah, I'm learning. I be getting too serious, but definitely my fault.
I've noticed when I talk to white people, there's a fallacy of the just world fallacy, where people think everything's fine. You're just not trying hard enough. It's kind of weird.
What's Doc Bay? Brother is Bay. Derek, what's happening? Flubber. Say, man, you got some historians down there, man, that'll tell you why we in the position we in. Anything you heard me say, I was instructed. I'm a student. In order to be a great leader, you have to be even a better follower.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. I was replying to a message. Moving forward.
It's time to bring me up into your panel. Let's go. I've got a few things I know. You let me into your panel about 3.
There's Donald J. Trump. I didn't let him up.
What's up, Peachkey? Lord Playboy? Brother is Bay?
Peace. That joint super tight, brother, is. That's some good work right there. Good job. Where can I get an authenticated copy of that Constitution with those amendments? Because I would definitely like to see it. That's hot right there. I appreciate you bringing that out. Gratitude.
Respect.
You're bringing the fire today, brother, is. You're bringing the fire today, but the name of that website, the one that I use, is GMEI Utility. That's GMEI Utility. And then you type that joint in with the dashes. You see one result. Type that joint in without the dashes. You see another. Peace.
So the website that Holly Park shared with us that I was searching for is called G as in Gary, M as in Michael, E as in Echo, I as in Israel, utility, all one word, .org. So GMEI utility.org/search.jsp. If you were to go on your browser and go to that quote unquote website, you'll get returned a black top with menu, and there's a big search line. In that search line, these quote unquote social security number, it doesn't have, if you're scared about typing a social security number because you don't know about nationality yet, I understand. Go find somebody who recently passed away in your circle of love. Get their social security number since they're already dead and you're scared and you don't know much about IT. You don't got a VPN. You don't have any protection like that. Go get their social security number. Go to the website gmeiutility.org/search.jsp. And in the search bar that comes up, you're going to enter the first 3 digits of the social, dash, the 2 digits of the social, dash, the 4 digits of the social, okay, of either your personal social, or not prior search, the social security number assigned to you, or of loved one who recently passed away if you scared, because it's still going to come up with the listing. Once you got that data in there, you click search, you'll get a list. You're going to have something called the first column, LEI, which is basically the loan entity's identification number, which will be a hypertext. That's what I be talking about. You'll get the legal name of the trader of that particular asset.
Canada. I'm in Canada right now, I guess.
The city, the country,
Montreal,
its validation sources, and then you get its registration status and then the entity status.
Ireland,
what can you see for registration status? You can see it as a status as issued, which means that, it's out on the market being traded right now. And things that you do in your life, somebody's getting paid for right now, and it ain't you. The other status you could possibly see under registration status is as you start proclaiming your making public declarations of your nationality, you'll see these bonds die off, and the status will switch over to red into lapsed or closed.
Oh, damn.
The entity status is the status of the brokerage firm that's selling your ass on the international market. And that'll be listed more than likely as either active or inactive. The active would be listed as green. You know what green means. It's still in the works. It's still going on. Red, shut down, closed. It's no longer an issue. To give you an idea on the social security number attached to me was attached to my straw, brought back, let's see, there's 363 records. That's 363 different bonds from places such as, and I'll read you some of the cities and countries: Vienna, Italy; Espadina, Bulgaria; London, United Kingdom; Luxembourg; Wilmington, that's Delaware, oh shit; Madrid, Spain; Berlin, Germany; Madigsburg, Germany; Barnsley, United Kingdom; Middlestrom, Netherlands; Linz, Austria, Austria; Budapest, Hungary; Berlin, Germany; Wien, Austria; Munich, Germany; Bristol, United Kingdom; Jacobsdorf, Germany.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it's all over Europe and Asia. Don't get it twisted, because there were some there being sold out of Japan that was tied to my straw's EIN. Saying plenty of Japans: Stockholm, Sweden; Malmo, Sweden; Dover, United States again; New York; Tilst, Denmark; Redneck; Wilmington again; New York; Morud, Denmark, Point Claire, Canada, Adelaide, Australia. So I'm trying to show you. You could go and look for yourself what yours brings back, and you can see the actual instruments of finance created based on your labor, future earning potential. This is why when you was in school and they said, hey, you got to do this or that, else we're going to put something bad on your permanent record.
So
I'm showing you a permanent record.
That did.
Everything you did, from getting a license, taking out a loan, signing up for a credit card when you was young and dumb, didn't know better, right? Signing a 2-year contract for a mobile cell phone, signing that 12-month, 18-month, 24-month lease on a rental property. All those transactions, those parking tickets, speeding tickets, those bill of attainers, all of that has been sold on the premise of you a dumb Negro, you a dumb whatevers. You think people are crayons. You're going to pay this shit.
I really got the shit up.
And this will get these people paid on the other end. Don't get mad at me. I'm just showing you it. You should get mad at those who you looked at and admired.
Next renewal date, October 17, 2020.
You should be mad at those saying, hey, send me finance so I can open up a school for your quote-unquote black children. Hell no, I don't want my children going to that school. They're not black. That's a misnomer. Those are legal definitions. There ain't no black land and there ain't no white Ola. So how come Germans get Germany? How come Mexicans get Mexico? Brazilians get Brazil? Where's black? Where's white? If the name of the people doesn't instantly make you think of a landmass, that is some indoctrination, psyop, fuckery, or dipshittery going on. The key is, you don't have to play in the shitty water, but you gotta know how to avoid the shitty water, because they will try to drag your ass back, kicking and screaming. They got no qualms, because they know they're criminals, and they know they're doing human trafficking. Every time they stop you for whatever little bull. It's a Tuesday. Oh, you got green sneakers on. That's a ticket. Come here. Pass me your ID. I got to write you up. Now you know. It's third time this month. You got to pay that ticket. You crossed in between the crosswalks. That's another ticket. You smoking in public. Oh, that's a ticket. That's 2 tickets. That's 3 tickets right there. I just saw the coolest video on YouTube. It was on YouTube Short. You know them YouTube Shorts? You click them and it doesn't even have it just goes straight to the vid. Dude, it's an Occidental out at London. He walking. He looks over and he sees another Occidental who got a cigarette lit, smoking on the side of the street. And some private security force guy in costume accosts the Occidental who was smoking. That's your ID, you're smoking on the street, and you're too close to the entrance, this, that, and the third. That's going to be a fine. This Occidental, who was in passing, doesn't know the guy, goes, hey, let me help you out and save you a little money. That guy right there, he's not an officer of the peace. He's a private security guard. And the monies that they're collecting from them fines, if you go ask your council person how much, or a breakdown of the fee that you pay, how much of that is used for the actual council for the area that you live, in other words, and how much of that just goes to their pocket, they can't provide an actual fiscal breakdown of it, which means it's a voluntary act that you're doing at Breton. So the passerby told the brother who was in trouble, supposed trouble, listen, friend, I know he's going to tell you that he has the right and he's authorized and yada, yada, yada. He has the authority. But trust me, he's a private security guard. If you walk into this building right here, says that's private property, he can't follow you to give you that ticket. Come with me right now. And he stood on his phone, videotaping it. They started walking. There's the security guard behind him. No, sir, you need to give me your ID, sir. No, you got to take this ticket. This is a summons. We're authorized to. Old boy climbed up the steps, both of them. They walked in the main doors of these private buildings. Guess what that security guard, quote unquote, officer of the peace did? He kept his happy ass on the sidewalk. He didn't step on private property. Where in that did that say you had to be a certain complexion? Where in that did it say you must not turn red in the sun? It doesn't. They were both modern day European, meaning Occidental, Cretan, so-called quote-unquote white people. How come that the so-called copper stopped in his tracks and didn't enter private property to continue that transaction? Once you can answer that for yourself, you don't need to be on any of these talks. You need to be hosting these talks. You feel me? All right. That I yield. Peace.
Yeah, let me hit these messages real quick. Let me block this dude. This dude's just kind of wild.
Okay, so I'm listening. Shout out to everybody up on the panel and everybody sitting beside me. So what's the whole point of all these businesses being associated with our number or our straw man number? What is the point of it? Is it supposed to be like what do they call that in New York where they're trading for money, like stocks or something like that? Is that what they're doing? And how? What? I'm curious. Is there more information on the point of that website and how these businesses are functioning in Europe and Asia and everywhere else? Because I've never heard of that per se. I've heard of some of what you're talking about, but I'm just curious. Like, what is the point of that? Yeah,
it's to show
and
you
you
that
can
everything
message me the information if it's like too much to actually read or anything like that. That's fine.
Got you. It's to show you that everything you're doing in life, it has a monetary amount tied to it that you're not seeing any benefit from, and it's being traded publicly, internationally. That's called international human trafficking.
Right.
And if you looked it up on the website, that list of locations and quote unquote monetary tools, when you dig into them by clicking the link, you'll start seeing, hey, why is this tied to a library book that I got back when I was in 6th grade? Why is this tied to a traffic ticket? Why is this tied to a conviction that you got 16 years ago? They're showing you the truth. You have to go down the rabbit hole for your own life, because my life is not your life. So the things that came back on mine won't be the same as what comes back on yours. Mine exponentially grew. Why? Because I did things that I thought was for the betterment of myself. Didn't know that it just made me more marketable and a bigger payday for somebody else. Like ascertaining higher education. Meaning that after high school, went to college. 2-year, 4-year, and then graduate. Each one of those events elevates your potential earning power moving forward. More tools come out, more bonds get sold, trafficked on that fact. Peace. You still got a couple of more there, Pete.
Let me jump in real quick. So I want to thank everybody, Chris, Doc Bay, owe me much respect, love you, brother. Void, Faith, Holly Park, Ken,